Hello again, Maverick traders, and welcome out to your currency room. This is Ankit here from Maverick Currencies, and this is a market recap for Wednesday, August the 2nd. What a day in the markets. Let's go over, see what really moved in the markets, talk about our game plan for the next 24 hours. So let's just dive into our market analysis.
Do you want to be a professional trader? Maverick Currencies is the oldest US-based Forex and crypto prop trading company that will pay you for trading with our capital. Trade our capital and keep 70 to 80% of the profits. We are looking for traders just like you that are hardworking and motivated. Click the apply link on the top right of this video to see if you have what it takes. That link takes you to a 4-minute video that explains the trader position available, and you read a list of FAQs that answer pretty much all the basic questions you have at this point. After watching the video and reading the FAQs, if you're interested, fill out an application, then you'll watch the full-length recruiting video, and then schedule an interview with one of our traders. Are you our next trader?
Today was a bit of a risk-off day across the board, and looking at the news of the day, we saw a big slump in the stock market as we had the rating agency Fitch downgrade the U.S. Credit rating from AAA debt status. So that was a big sort of a news. We saw a bit of a risk off across the board. And again, frankly, where we are in the markets, it was bound to happen. We were bound to see some profit taking. It was just a bit of a catalyst that really got us down to it. Now, let's take a look at market performance in the currency market. You can see that the yen and the dollar were both up. And look at the dollar. Dollar has been really strong in the past few days. Again, the velocity score is sitting at a +3. So really good performance in the dollar. But outside of that, you can see the European currencies, they're still holding it. So the big losses are really in the Aussie and the Kiwi. We had a bad news in the Aussie early in the week when they failed to raise interest rates. And then we had the Kiwi Employment Board yesterday, and that was a bit weak as well. We saw an uptick in the unemployment rate, and we saw both currencies are actually underperforming. So that's really where the movement is. We talk about trading markets in front of you. Look at what's really moving, and these are the currencies that are moving. Now, let's take a look at outside of the currency market. Look at S&P down 1.3%, World Stock Index down 1.6%. So it was a nice pullback in the markets. We haven't seen as much. We have seen a very good bullish market overall, so a bit of a down day across the board. Crypto down 4.5%. And look at that, gold is down as well, and the US oil. Take a look at the crypto markets. You can see overall everything. So you can see that in the crypto markets, everything is down as well. So let's take a look at charts here. This is where we need to get into, are we about to change our market outlook? Well, we've been above the 20 and the 50 moving average. You can see in this S&P chart, we have been very bullish across the board. Each time we have these pullbacks, guess what happened? We did sort of buy coming in. Now, looking at this price action, we could just close at the moving average. For tomorrow, one of the things we'll be looking for is, do we start to see buyers coming in here, or do we see the S&P give up this level? This is a sort of a make it or break it point. We have been in this situation multiple times in the last few weeks. This will be, again, a test that ultimately will lead us to either a move on the downside or a move to the upside. But you can see where we are in the markets. This was just a catalyst to do some profit taking overall. Now, if we take a look at the calendar, I mean, this week, there's a lot of important news already behind us. We have the CPI from Switzerland overnight. We have the Bank of England rate statement tomorrow, and we have the U.S. unemployment claims and the services PMI. So there's still a lot of fireworks in the next 2 days. And on Friday, of course, the U.S. and Canada jobs report. But you can see that overall this morning we had a pretty strong ADP number. The employment change expectation was at 191,000. It came in at about 324,000. So that was really strong number there. We'll see what the official government number comes out on Friday. But this didn't really change the course on the markets. Markets overall was just in a negative momentum, and we just had a sell-off for the entire day today. So The big question is where we go from here. Now let's take a look at velocity score, because this is where we're going to find out what's moving and what we need to focus on. You can see that the Aussie and the Kiwi are the worst ones so far, and the best one is the dollar, and followed by Euro Swiss franc. And that has been the case for most part of this week. Question is, what's in store for us in the next 24 to 48 hours? Of course, the dollar and the CAD is primary focus on Friday. We probably could see continuation in those moves, but we are definitely sitting at some oversold levels in the Aussie. Kiwi is the next one that could fall. But again, I'll be primarily looking at the euro and the Swiss franc overnight, especially as we get the Swiss franc CPI numbers. I'm paying close attention to the CPI numbers. And of course, the Bank of England rate statement tomorrow. Realize that there's a lot of movements happening around this rate statement. So anything that's in the statement that could be hawkish or dovish will impact the currency. So let's take a look at possible trades ahead in those areas that we just looked at. So let's just start with the charts here. One of the things I want to start off with is the bond yields. One of the things we are noticing right now is that all yields are rising. Take a look at the 30-year, take a look at the 20-year, and take a look at the 10-year. Again, this could be what's helping the dollar here. We are at the highs that we were back in March, and that's again putting some pressure on the equities, and that's also helping the dollar. So take a look at the dollar here. I mean, in the past few days, you can see dollar has really turned around and actually gone above the 20, the 50, and the 200 moving average. So going from the worst currency right here in July to now back to the levels that we were at July 4th, this is again looking a lot more promising. But realize that in the longer scheme, we are still have a pretty good resistance level to clear. We have been going back and forth in this area, and there's been multiple times we have seen support, we have seen retest. The big question is, when do we break out? And again, that's where the big move will come. But meanwhile, we can continue going back and forth within this wide range here. So the dollar, again, pay attention to the bond yields. If the bond yields back off, would that help the dollar to weaken? That's something we'll be paying close attention to. But yeah, it looks pretty interesting to me that right now all the bond yields are rising. And let's take a look at the equity markets. They are right at the moving average here. So in the next 20 to 48 hours, keep a close eye on the risk sentiment. Now let's take a look at currencies. Aussie, let's start with the Aussie. Look at the Aussie here. We talk about how this thing has been going back and forth in this range. We are at the support, and look at that beautiful break of the support. So I really like the Aussie to the downside here, especially on this break lower. Let's go on a higher time frame here. Look at the weekly chart. Weekly chart. This is the Aussie currency basket, and look at that. Has a very important support that has held 2020, 2021, 2020, almost 2022, 2023. This is an important level of support. A break of this level, there's definitely more downside risk in the Aussie. Now, the central bank is also helping this move down because of they're not raising rates while everybody else is raising rates. Remember, all the central banks are really were causing a lot of these movements here in these currencies. So I really like Aussie to the downside. We got a nice little sort of a confirmation to the downside. I would love to kind of see a sort of a holding this area. As long as it stays below the support, I like this on the further short side. Now, Kiwi is also in the same boat. We have a support here. Again, the Aussie looks much weaker compared to the Kiwi, but they're both on the same trajectory. Now, outside of the dollar and the Aussie and Kiwi, let's take a look at the currencies. Swiss franc still looking strong. Remember, I've talked about how certain currencies are two-way currency and certain currencies are one-way. This is a more of one-way currency. You know, any pullbacks that you buy has been a better opportunity. So here we are. We got a nice little window here. CPI tomorrow. Can we break out of it? I think the numbers, I won't be surprised if that inflation number comes out weaker than expected. We see a bit of a turnaround in the Swiss franc. But again, if it comes out stronger than expected, we can see a further breakout above this level. So keep a close eye on the Swiss franc here, looking pretty strong. And on the other side, take a look at the euro. which is also looking pretty strong here. Still below this prior resistance here. So I need to see that clear above this area in order to for me to get excited on the long side. But there again, euro and the Swiss franc kind of doing the very similar thing. And again, lastly, the British pound. Remember, we have the Bank of England tomorrow. The last CPI number came out below expectation. The question is the Bank of England will be playing down for the rate hikes? And if that's the case, we could see some weakness sort of come into the pound as well. But overall, as you can see, pound is also the currency that has been pretty strong above the 20 and above the 50-day moving average. Now, lastly, let's take a look at the CAD. And CAD is acting very similar to the US dollar. Overall, you can see that it's holding on to the levels, but it's not running. It's not falling apart. I actually do like other currencies to focus on. I like the CAD to play when the performance is deviated from the dollar. But right now, they're doing a very similar thing. So this is where now we know the best and the worst currency. Look at the Aussie USD. So big moves happen to the downside. 4-hour chart, daily chart. We are now testing key support area. So the question is, a lot of times traders will look at this and say, well, this thing has fallen quite a bit. I don't really want to be shorting it here. I missed a big move. What should I do? But if you take a look at the setups here, there's definitely a lot of opportunities in between. We got this breakdown here, bear rally, and then we moved lower once again. Does it look extended? Let's go into our velocity score and take a look at where we are. Well, the velocity is sitting at oversold level. But remember, oversold can remain oversold, and overbought can remain overbought. So no guarantee that the reversal will come here. You can see in this scenario, we saw the overbought signal that really triggered in right here. And this big move really came in that overbought territory. So same thing, Aussie, it does look extended. Would I like to see more of a base or a bear rally? Absolutely. Question is this move done? Should we look at other currencies? I think Kiwi can be the second one to really fall into that, but realize that this also has a big overhead, support or resistance that is continued to trade in between. So I need to see that confirmation below that. Dollar, like I said, dollar is sort of consolidating here, but look where we are. We are back at the highs that we were right here. So I still like a further upside, but pay attention to the bond yields. If the bond yields sort of pull back a little bit, I think the dollar could have some short-term profit taking, but realize that the price action is very strong. 4-hour chart, look where we are in the RSI, the overbought territory. So same thing, Aussie in oversold and US dollar in the overbought. Let's just look at the Japanese yen. You can see this thing is just going sideways, not a whole lot. With this risk-off sentiment, I wouldn't be surprised if the yen sort of catch up a bit, but I think the yen is just continue to be a good short off of these rallies. So in summary, let's take a look at what things we will be taking a look at. Well, first thing first, keep a close eye on Euro Swiss franc. Euro Swiss franc, we saw some nice movement in the past few days, but then you can see that things have been kind of back and forth. Look at this move here. It got reversed. We got a big candlestick down. And realize that these candles are coming around the same time every day. 9 o'clock, between 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 to 11 a.m. actually. And look at the similar pattern here, similar move over here. So watch out for that area where we go into the European market close and we get these little pullbacks. But overall, we can see that this thing is trying to recover. But these two nasty pullbacks here kind of keeps you a little bit on the sideline. I personally like to trade this CPI number overnight, and especially on a weak number, I think the Swiss franc has room for to sort of move back and forth within that range that we are noticing here. So Swiss franc, this could be a breakout play, or it could be a reversal play. It could go either way. So I'll be paying attention to that. Outside of that, the pound crosses. Let's take a look at that. Right now, dollar is strong. Let's take a look at the pound US dollar. This thing has moved very nicely here. Look at the RSI is dropping. The moving average is dropping. This is now in a bit of a negative momentum. I would love to see some sort of bear rallies to short into, but I do like pound on the short side into tomorrow. Lately, a lot of these central banks, a lot of these currencies, they're actually being a good short off of this central bank announcements. So that's exactly what I'm looking for, is pound to the downside. Maybe I can pair pound against the euro. Maybe that'll be the first level. Maybe I'll take a look at on the upside on a 4-hour chart. It is rising a little bit. Again, not a clear-cut chart, but this is where you have to be a little bit more patient. Draw the areas, put the stops around the support area, and then see if we can catch some sort of momentum here. But yeah, there's some choppiness to it, but overall, we'll be trying to capture a movement off of the news event. So a lot of these pound crosses that we can pay attention to. Let's say if the Swiss franc is strong off of the CPI, I would love to sort of short this pound Swiss franc right below that level. Again, this is purely a news play, so we'll be taking a look at trading off the news strategy instead of going with the traditional sort of analysis here. So that is the game plan here. Dollar, it does look extended. I think in the next 24 hours, we maybe could see a bit of a turnaround, maybe see some profit taking in some of these currency pairs. But yeah, I do like the way things are moving, especially how the Aussie is looking. I would like to see for further sort of losses in these Aussie crosses here. So pay close attention to it, including Aussie Kiwi. Because that Aussie Kiwi, once again, jumped right nicely off this support area. So 107.40 is a big support. If we can get below this level, I think there's further downside, especially now moving to the 105.62 area. So I like the risk to reward on that one, but I need some confirmation that it is ready to break the support here. So that's really the game plan for the next 24 hours. Again, we still have a whole lot to go through. Tomorrow, news events, and Friday with the U.S. jobs report, which we'll be meeting live for it. So, register for the class. Join us on Friday morning. But for next 24 hours, my focus is on Swiss franc and the British pound and the Aussie currency pairs. Thanks for joining. We'll see you in the next update.